Oh, okay. Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Freedom Podcast. My name is Isabella Cameron, and today I have Joseph O'Brien with me. Say hi.
Hi.
Okay, so you do music.
Yes. Oh, we're like cold open. This is like The Office. It's just like cold hard open. It's like, yes.
I have no way to transition.
Yeah. So like, God called me to music when I was 5 years old. Yeah.
I do have an icebreaker question. It's a two-parter, okay?
Two-parter. Ooh.
Part one.
Okay.
What was your favorite Veggie Tales episode?
Oh, this is such a good question. I think I've always answered Lord of the Beans. I think Lord of the Beans is my favorite. But I also I really appreciate Minnesota Cuke. That's a really good one.
That's kind of underground too.
I know that's a sleeper one, but what is it? The Fib from Outer Space.
Oh my gosh.
So good.
So good.
And someone told me the other day, they're like, oh, that one's scary. I'm like, not nearly as scary as the rumor weed. The rumor weed was
freaked
freaky.
Me out.
Yeah, she like slither everywhere and like engorged a whole city. It was wild. Engorged? Is that a word? Yeah. That's a word, right?
I don't know if it was used right, but that was a word for sure.
It was a word. Okay. Yeah. What about you?
I don't know, because the Jonah one is like a classic, but that's also a new one. So like that's not really the same as old Veggie Tales.
Mm-hmm. That was the one that also made them bankrupt too. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah. It was the one that sent them under, and then they had to sell to another studio, which is why Veggie Tales started getting bad.
Yeah, they're not good. They're not even anymore. Christian anymore. It's like, just be nice to people. Mm-hmm. What's the point? What's the point of this? Why?
If there's no Jesus,
if there's no Jesus, why am I being nice to people?
Yeah, that's
exactly.
Good.
I don't remember what it was called, but there was one where there was like a house on top of a tree and it was swaying, and then Madame Blueberry was in the house, and they had to go to the grocery store.
Madame Blueberry.
Is it just Madame Blueberry?
Yeah, I think it was Madame Blueberry.
My favorite part is when they were out of shopping carts, and Larry sat in the little, like, the one that you hold, the shopping basket, and like scooted the whole time. As a kid, I just thought that was really funny.
Actually, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. That one just made me really sad because Junior couldn't get the toy that he wanted.
That's what it was.
He got the ball, which was cute. But yeah, he wanted the train, and the dad was like, we can't afford it. I was like, I can't imagine being poor. That would suck. That would suck. Because I grew up, I was such a spoiled little kid. I was like, oh, why can't I have the train, Mom? That's wild. That's crazy. Oh, yeah, anyway. But that's a good one. Good answer.
You grew up in Williamson County without telling me you grew up in Williamson County.
I know. I'm such a Brentwood kid. Seriously.
Okay, do you remember the one with the rubber duckies?
Yeah, that was.
Did you know that's Bathsheba?
Well, of course. Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that till I was 16, and I was like, Mom, what the heck was that episode about? She was like, that's David and Bathsheba.
They did a big number on that one. I mean, that's crazy they got away with it. Yeah, rubber duckies.
What do you mean? It was a rubber ducky.
That's crazy.
That was a whole woman.
Yeah, it was a whole woman. The rubber duckies. Yeah, represented. Crazy.
Okay, you ready for my part two?
All right, what's part two?
Which Veggie Tales character do you identify with the most?
I think probably I'd have to say no. I can't say Larry, can I? I feel like that's such like a main character energy. like yeah, I'm just Larry. You know what it is. I feel like it has to be Larry though, because he's kind of a doofus, but he's very high energy and positive. I feel like Bob is one of the more pessimistic.
Yeah.
Maybe Larry. Maybe it's like the Enneagram. Larry is when I'm healthy, and Bob is when I'm unhealthy. Like that's what I think it is, because I love Larry as a character. And that's who I want to be as a person. Is just like everyone loves Larry, but I find myself in seasons of being Bob. You know, I think I'm in a season of Bob right now. So I don't know why this feels like such crackhead energy right now. But what about you?
Well, what's funny is right before you got here, I was like, oh, I thought of a good icebreaker question. I was telling Christian it, and then I was like, well, you would be Alfred for sure. Christian is Alfred. And then I was like, I think I'm Bob.
Yeah. He's Bob.
But I think I'm in health Bob and unhealth Larry.
Yeah. Well, Bob is very intentional though. You know, he always has the hard conversations, and feels like Larry deflects with humor.
A little more of like the straight man to like Larry's crazy.
Yes.
There has to be both.
Yeah. It's kind of like SpongeBob and Patrick. It's like they're both
I
silly.
wasn't allowed to watch that, so I can't relate to that.
I feel so bad for you.
I wasn't allowed to watch a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't allowed to watch most things. Like Harry Potter was off limits. Yeah, for sure.
That's of the devil.
Yeah, of course. But Lord of the Rings with that witchcraft is fine.
And Narnia is fine.
And Narnia is fine, obviously, because the witch was evil. So like, there it makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, my mom loved SpongeBob. My dad thought I was obnoxious, but my mom thought I was genius, and so
I mean, it's funny.
It is really funny.
I wasn't allowed to watch Phineas and Ferb either, or Arthur.
Oh, was that because of like they hid their like things from their parents or something?
No, they were just mean to their siblings, and my mom was like, "She'll do that for sure." Phineas she sees this.
Phineas and Ferb were close.
The older
but the
sister was
Candace,
mean, and that would have been me.
Oh, really? You think
Same
so?
thing with Arthur. Like, was mean to his younger sibling, and because I'm
Rugrats?
the oldest.
Probably weren't allowed to watch Rugrats.
No.
Yeah, because Angelica was like really mean to her siblings too.
My mom was like, she's got enough of this on her own. She doesn't need
You had the sass
ammo.
already.
Yeah.
No, I think my parents, actually, weirdly, we didn't watch TV a lot, but whenever we did, they were pretty, pretty chill, which was pretty weird. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So then,
Crazy.
when you were like, you said you grew up pretty privileged.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it a Christian home?
It was,
like your parents were Christians.
My parents were very strong believers. And I think we did. It's not like we were just like rich, but like in my head, we were like very like well off. But whenever my parents were going through difficult times, because my dad just like, thankfully, a lot of the times, well, I shouldn't say thankfully, but like my parents, when they first started out, like, and when they first got married, I mean, they were living off of peanut butter and honey sandwiches, you know, because they just moved to Nashville. My dad was working 2 jobs. My mom was working 2 jobs just to make ends meet. And so a lot of those things that they went through were earlier on when I wasn't even born. And then when I was born, my dad was in New Song. Okay. So he, at that point, kind of had found his footing. He had been up for like a Dove Award at some point. So like he just was gaining a lot of traction and was able to find financial stability. So but then he left New Song in 2006. And so we went through some like financially tough times, but my parents were always very chipper and like never let us know that they were going through that. They didn't want us to always be worried about money because my mom dealt with that growing up. Her parents were like always talking about like, we're not gonna be able to make it. We're gonna have to move out of our house. We're gonna be homeless. So my mom always wanted us to feel like we had stability, even if there were times that we didn't. So that was very intentional. So
That's good.
I thought we were like so wealthy growing up, but there would have probably been times where we were really struggling. So, but yeah. So, but we were living in Brentwood, so we probably were more well off. But that was before it cost like $2 billion to live in Brentwood. Still was expensive though. So yeah.
And then have you been musical your whole life?
Yeah.
Okay.
My parents met in a singing group in California. 7-Day Adventist singing group too.
Wow.
You ever heard of 7-Day Adventism?
Yeah. Aren't they like really strict?
Yes, they are very strict. they follow all of the Old Testament ceremonial laws.
Oh, interesting.
Or not ceremonial. I think it's like civil. Basically, like they don't eat pork, and their Sabbath is on Saturday still. So they'll get together as a church on Saturday. It starts at Friday like evening.
Yeah.
And
but
my mom
grew
Jewish? Up, but they're not Jewish. No, they were founded by a woman named Ellen G. White. And the whole deal was that she predicted when the end of the world was going to happen.
When was it?
It was in 1930 or something.
Yeah.
So didn't end up panning out for her. But people still followed her nonetheless.
Cool.
And so it's technically, I hope I don't get canceled for this, but it's technically kind of a cult.
Yeah.
But they're more Protestant now. They're pretty, like, they can be very Protestant. Depends on how into Ellen G. White you are. If they're like super into Ellen G. White, it's like a little rough.
Well, she's a little bit of a false teacher and false prophet.
Yeah.
Considering it didn't come true.
Yeah. That's kind of where I land, but I still think you can get, saved definitely within the Seventh-day Adventist movement. But my parents grew up, not my dad. My dad was an atheist till he was 23 or 24. Then God saved him. But in order to marry my mom, he converted to Seventh-day Adventism.
Interesting.
So they were in a singing group as Seventh-day Adventists, and then they moved to Nashville because my dad knew that he wanted to pursue music. So yeah. But all that being said, we were born, like all of us were expected to sing growing up. Like that was
Can all of you sing?
No brainer. Yeah.
That's cool.
Sing. My sister does opera actually.
Wow.
Goes crazy.
That's hard.
I know. Mad hard. Mad dummy hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did you write your first song?
I think I was 12.
Okay.
Yeah, because
do you still remember it?
I think
Sing
I do.
Sing it right now.
Why did you come? When you knew you were gonna die for us, I don't understand how this could all be part of your plan. Why? It was something like that. It was called Why. But I played on the piano, and apparently my parents were like, yo, this kid can write. Thanks, Dad. I would have totally said, you should go into business or something. But I was 12 or 13, but I just started playing piano, and I really like wanted to. Yeah, I wanted to know why. Stuff. Yeah, I wanted to know why. So it was very existential. I thought I was so angsty at the time.
For sure.
But yeah, no, I literally started writing when I was 12 or 13, and then I kept writing, and I wouldn't say I even got good. I'm still struggling with believing that I'm good at it. But I don't think I got a good grasp on it until I actually graduated college.
Do you deal with imposter syndrome?
What's that again?
Like you feel like you don't deserve belong with whatever is in your life.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, it's weird. You'll go through seasons. Again, I'm in my Bob season. So like there are times where I'm like, I can't believe I'm doing this as a living. Like I'm so not talented and I can't figure out anything. It's like, I can't write. I'm so trash. Because I'll be in writing rooms and I can't like provide any good ideas. And then you'll be in seasons where you're like, I'm so locked in. I don't think anyone could take away how good I'm doing right now.
Right.
Like, every write that I do, I'm coming up with banger lines, banger melodies, and I'm producing really cool stuff. And yeah, you just, as a writer, as a creative, you're going to go through different seasons. But I think the point is you press through whatever season you have. And you're thankful for the seasons where you feel like you're like dialed and locked in. And then you just, whenever you're not feeling creative, you just try to do the best you can to push through,
What do you think God's trying to teach you in your Bob season?
My Bob season?
Yeah.
He's always been teaching me, I feel like, the same thing, which is just trusting him with my future. I think I've never actually been worried about the music thing, mainly because God has like repeatedly opened so many doors for me. In the sense of not like crazy doors, like, you win awards and all this different things, but just like enough doors for me to continually stay afloat, to pay my rent. That is such a big thing. Like, I think a lot of people don't even realize how big of a blessing that is, to just be able to financially provide for yourself solely through music. Like a lot of people just chase the idea of like, I wish I could just make a full-time living like doing music. And that's what I'm doing right now. So I've never been like ungrateful. I always, I think, wake up grateful that I can just go into my studio, make tunes, and then like I'm doing Camp Electric this week, but then I'm going to another camp to like teach about music. I just like, I don't know, I'm very overwhelmed by how great, or like how much grace God's given me to do what I'm able to do. The stuff I get more worried about is more personal, like when am I going to get married and have children? Because like I thought I'd have 3 by now, and I'm not even there. Like, because when I was 19, that's all I thought about. I was like, I'm gonna get married by the time I'm 20. I'm gonna have 3 kids by the time I graduate, like, college. Like, it's gonna happen because I just want to be a dad. That's like at my heart. This is my heart cry. So it's just that's where I think I can get more wrapped up, is just the personal stuff. But I've never once been worried about what God's going to do as far as my work life, because he could take away my ability to sing tomorrow and I still would be like, all right, I'm going to figure out what I can glorify God in that's not music, like, or I'll figure out something. So yeah, I don't know if that answers the question. But,
yeah. No, that's cool. When do you feel like you were saved? Like, because you grew up in church.
Yeah.
When did it become yours and not just your parents and the way you grew up?
Yeah, I think probably this might be similar. I don't know what your story is. You might help me. Or I would love to hear, because I feel like most people our age, especially for people, because you grew up in the church, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like, I grew up in such a strong believing household that I think whenever I got to college and I was a freshman, like that was actually when I realized that I'd been living in my parents' like spiritual shadow for so long. Like, I just was like, oh, my mom would all sit us down and we would listen to a sermon together so many times. So when I got to college, I was like, oh, I gotta make this my own. And then sophomore year of college, kind of like we were talking a little bit earlier, like Christian, like we both went through seasons where we were asking a bunch of questions. So I was at a Bible college and it was sophomore year, and I was like, why do I believe the Bible to be true? Why do I believe like why do we have this collection of books? Like why is it Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John? Like all
Right.
those things that I feel like people would consider pretty elementary, but I had to really get into the apologetics thing. And then, which is so weird, we don't have to talk about it, but like at some point, like I had to wrestle through, because I took what's it called? Ravi Zacharias' apologetics course.
Yeah.
And then when all that stuff came out, I was like, I had to wrestle through that, because and so there's been a lot of things, like a lot of darts I think that the enemy is like throwing at me, and I'm not usually one to use that lingo. I actually grew up in a household where we weren't very like, I grew up charismatic, but then we transitioned to Presbyterianism.
Ooh.
So a lot of the lingo of
Wow.
like saying, you know, like the devil is trying to get out, like I just am not that way, but I do believe like obviously Satan exists and he's trying to like you know, rip me away from my beloved creator, you know? So like, I do think that there was either him or his demons, whatever. There was just like works of the prince of the power of the air, if one might say, that I was really having to wrestle through. But yeah, just God just like showed up in that season. God just got me through it, and I saw his like faithfulness, but I also just like found the soundness of all that, like just the doctrine I found in like scripture. And I was like, if I left Christianity, I don't know what I could find that would make more sense than this.
Right.
You know, especially like when it comes to religion, it was like, yeah, I could go to Buddhism, you know, Hinduism, all that stuff, but I didn't find any of their like, it wasn't very consistent. You know, and it was just another idea. So I found Christianity, especially when in the character of Jesus, like the Case for Christ talks about this. It's like if you rest pretty much everything on the resurrection, and if that's true, it's like that changes everything. So I just like did a bunch of research and prayed through it and wrestled kind of like Martin Luther. I was like on my face a couple times, just like, God, please. And yeah, I don't know, he showed up, and he always shows up because that's what he does, you know?
Yeah.
But what about you? When do you feel you got saved? So I think I got saved at a young age. I just had to wrestle through a lot of stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think I was under my parents' covering for a little bit, and then I would say when I was 17, because the homeschool program I did a really good job of the apologetic stuff. So I knew that like logically it was the only religion that was true.
Yeah.
Like it's the only one you can prove till way back when. So I already knew that, but for me it was the more emotional side, because I was like, well, I just want to do whatever I want.
Yeah.
I don't want it.
Totally.
So I knew it. I like had prayed. I did like 1,000 Bible studies. Like I knew the Bible.
Yeah.
But I would say like age 13 to 17, I just didn't care. Like
just
truly,
wanted to
I
exercise
just
that free
didn't
will.
care.
Just really wanted it. That free will. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. And I just didn't like anyone telling me what to do. So I just didn't. And I was like, well, and I would do the whole thing of like, God, everything I'm doing is probably fine, right? Okay, cool. Like that's what my prayers were like. Or I would pray about like everything except a few things, because I just wanted to do whatever I wanted. And it was just not a surrendered life. Like I knew God was real. I knew Jesus died for me, but I just didn't really care.
Yeah.
Until I was 17, and then my life sucked, and I was like, well, I guess my own way doesn't really work.
Yeah.
Then I was like, please take me.
Take me.
Please.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
I think we all go through, because when it's so familiar, you feel like at some point you almost have to rebel, because you're like,
Yeah.
I've got to be a teenager. Like, or like, you know, I've got to like make my own decisions. So you like fall to probably the opposite side, rather than, you know, finding almost a middle ground of like, oh, I got to search. So like you said, that was when you were like 13.
13 to 17 is when I didn't care. And then 17 is when I became a Christian.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's wild. How did you become a Christian? Where were you?
I was driving home from seeing a bunch of friends, but it was like one of the last times I saw my ex-boyfriend.
Oh, wow.
And that was like what really sucked, because I was like, well, I'm just going to date him anyway. I wasn't allowed to date. He was like not good for me at all. And
then you heard I Can Only Imagine on the radio.
I was just like sobbing on the way home, and I was like, I don't want to do it my way anymore.
Yeah.
Like, please. And then I just like felt the overwhelming peace where you're like, this isn't human. Like it's supernatural. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Please just, Jesus, take the wheel, literally. I was like, please.
That's what was playing. Got it. Okay.
Jesus, take the wheel.
Country radio.
Driving my mom's old minivan because I had crashed my car.
Oh, wow. In the minivan? Hey,
in the minivan, in the Honda Odyssey.
The Honda Odyssey. Wow. And like an Odyssey, God was taking you on a journey that trip.
He really was.
He was.
Yep. God, take the wheel of this Odyssey, please.
Yeah. Why, were you listening to Adventures in Odyssey at the time? That would have been something.
That would have been something.
Yeah. That would have been something. All right, what else? What we got? It's really good. I love that though. That's amazing.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a music question.
Okay.
Okay, so there's tons of different types of Christian artists, right? So there's like Forrest Frank, who's kind of like an in-between of secular and Christian, because he has some songs under Surfaces that are like all secular, and then he has his own stuff that's all Christian. And then there's like Colony House or Gable Price and Friends, where they're Christians, but they're releasing secular music that still has like elements of Christianity, but
Like
I they're not
faith
Christian
infused,
artists.
yeah.
How did you decide where you wanted to be in that? And what would you say you are?
Yeah, I would say that I'm more just pretty concretely Christian.
Yeah.
I've wanted to write songs that feel cool, like Switchfoot or Gable Price and Friends and Connie House. I don't think I have the ability to do that. It's really hard. Like, you have to be a poet. Like, I believe like some of the lyrics that Gable Price, like, or yeah, is that his name, Gable Price? Like, some of the lyrics that he's been able to concoct, I'm like, this, I couldn't even begin to imagine how he thinks, because they're so deep and they're so beautiful. Like, you could just read them and you're like, wow, like, I'm just really perplexed by how good you are at this. Whereas me, like, I'm just my personality is like boy next door. Like, I just want to be very approachable and down to earth, and I don't use any fancy terminology or like lingo. Like, that's never been my special, like, it's never been my specialty, is to be like this higher thinker, you know? And my mom would disagree. She's like, "You're so smart, Joseph." I'm like, I'm really not. Like, I'm not like this really intelligent person. I like to have meaningful conversations, but I'd be kidding myself to say that I'm a very, like, just a smart, I can never be a professor of theology or professor of anything like that. So for me, my lyrics have always just been, what's God doing in my life, and how do I help people that go through the same things that I do? And a lot of that usually has to do with emotional up and downs. Yeah. So you can, like, a lot of my songs, you'll be able to hear, it's like, oh, he like really wrestles with the Lord. And I just don't, because, you know, so much Christian music is like, I know this, I know this, I know this, like, I know that you are good, I know that, and it's like, I think I actually resonate with that, but I try to write songs that are, the more of the wrestling, rather than it's like always overcoming, you know?
Yeah.
And overcoming is very important, but we'd be kidding ourselves to say that being a Christian is all sunshine and rainbows. And yeah, our generation definitely sees through that. I think we're a very critical generation, and we don't like anything that feels fake. And so that's why I think Christian radio right now is really suffering, because no one our age is turning on Christian radio. At least not a lot. I definitely have met people who'd like turn on Christian radio, but I think most of the time it's like, this doesn't feel very grounded or authentic. It feels like it's just this spinning wheel that never changes. They're playing the same songs from 10 years ago. And so I've always considered myself just to be a very straightforward, like, Christian artist, but hopefully an artist that's directed more towards the young generation than older. Not that I don't want old people to listen to my music, but no one older listens to my music, and they'll never come. Like, I do concerts with old people, they just don't like my music. They're just not into it. They never are. Not usually. So,
What's this young sound stuff?
Yeah. I was like, so I stopped caring at some point. I was like,
they're not your target audience.
Yeah, they're not my target audience. And, you know, whenever I did concerts with my dad, like, it just always would go terribly. And that's when I literally
bring the dad back.
Yeah. I was like, that's when I always like questioned whether God called me to music, is when I was doing gigs for the wrong people. And then when I did a college gig once with Gable Price, I opened for Gable Price.
Oh, that's cool.
I did a show there, and I was like, is this the way it's always supposed to be? Like, even though there was like 150 people there, they were all in it. Like, they all wanted to feel like, they were like, hey, it was a different energy. And I was so happy that I got that experience, because who knows where I'd be if I didn't get that experience.
Okay, so I was stalking your Spotify.
Okay, as one does.
I'd already listened to a lot of your songs, because Spotify puts them in my, like, mixes.
Okay.
But you have over 1 million monthly listeners. That's a lot.
I didn't
you know
know
that?
that information. I did not know that. I don't check my stats every day. Definitely don't.
So first of all, that's really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then, did I see that you were on America's Got Talent?
Yes.
Okay, tell me about that.
America's Got Talent 2018. There's not much like I could really say about it, except like, if you look it up, it's just really mad cringe. It's like really cringe. Like, I wish we could like watch it on this podcast, just like you know, because like I don't want to watch it, but I tell other people just watch it in your own time because it's just a very.
I'm gonna link it in the description.
Link it in the
video.
description. Yeah, I was just a different person. Like you can tell, like I act pretty homeschooled right now, but like it was a different type of homeschooled. Like I consider myself a very outgoing person now.
Yeah.
Even though like I am an introvert, but at the time I had no shred of confidence. So imagine me just like being even on this podcast being like, So when I was 7, so like it's like that energy is I'm so awkward the entire time. And it's hard for me to watch it, but some people were endeared to it, I guess. But that's not what I wanted to be on the show. I wanted to be this like, oh, like he seems like this really level, but it just came across in a different way. And then I just leaned into it at some point because it kept working. So I was like, I guess I'm the awkward dude now, and I'm just gonna keep being really awkward. And they worked it so well. Like when you're on a show like that, like they interview you for 2 to 3 hours because they're gonna use 30 seconds of it. It's because they're waiting for you to mess up or do something that they can use. And at least for me, that's what I felt like it was. And they just portrayed me like this guy who never had friends in high school, which was like kind of true. Like I was homeschooled just in middle school, but I went to private school my entire life.
The way they portrayed me was all the way true. I just didn't like it.
Yeah. It's so like freshman year, it was hard for me to make friends, and I did tell them that. So they're like, well, let's go ahead and just portray that he never had friends, Like a couple of the shots they did on quarterfinal rounds was me like sitting at a lunch table, and then everyone leaves the lunch table, and it just pans to the shot of me eating alone, and it's and I'm like dancing in the hallways with music like with these old fashioned like styrofoam headphones.
Yeah.
So they were just trying to pay me like this reject, and
How old were you?
I was 20. I was 20 at the time, but even in high school when I was 18, like I was student body president. Like I had a sense, like I wasn't popular in my own grade because I was weird, but I knew how to like just be like again approachable boy next door. That's been my thing for so many years. Because I sometimes felt like I didn't have like the friend that I wanted, so I wanted to be friends for other people that never felt like they had a good amount of friends. I actually never thought for the longest time I could be friends with a cool person because I didn't believe I was worthy of it.
And now you're the cool person now, right?
Nah, I don't know about that. I'm just saying, like, I didn't have the confidence to be like, oh, they seem cool. Like, my best friend, Kobe James, when I first met him, I struggled with the idea of, like, we could be friends because I was like, he's so cool. He's got the long hair and he looks like he's from Disney. And I'm like, I was like, I can't hang with that. But I've had to, work on that for a couple of years. But anyway, back to just America's Got Talent. So yeah, it was a really good experience. I got to meet Simon Cowell. Like it was a dream. Like I grew up watching America's Got Talent.
Yeah.
Like, did you watch any shows like that growing up? Like The Voice
like a
or
little
American
bit here
Idol?
and there.
Okay.
Not like a lot.
Yeah. Did you ever have dreams about going on one of those shows? Are you like musically talented?
No. Not even a little.
Can you like juggle though or something?
No.
You got anything like up your sleeve? Do you have any like secret hidden talents?
I used to be really good at crocheting.
Crocheting? Like crocheting? Like that thing?
Yeah. I don't anymore, but I used to.
I think there's room for that. I think they could use it. Yeah.
I don't have like any special talents. I literally work and I read. That's it.
Can you read fast though?
I can read fast. Okay. I'm not like a
you
real
just, like,
speed
go on
reader.
Stage and you're like I could just flipping through it. That'd be pretty wild. Yeah. I mean, but yeah, I just grew up watching those shows. So I kind of auditioned on a whim, like as kind of not a joke, but a little bit of a joke.
Yeah.
Because like where I auditioned, Nashville, there was like 75,000 people total over the course of the day that would audition. So I'm like, who am I to be able to make it? And then they gave me a form to fill out, and I filled out that I was single and I had never had a girlfriend, and I was 20. And they were like, "Oh, that's cute." So I think they just ran with that hardcore too, because that was also a big element of my story. It's like, okay, and I'll be even really transparent here. I don't know if this is going over the line here, but they're like, okay, so he's 20, so he's never had a girlfriend. So either A, he has no riz, and he's like he has no friends, and he was a total reject, and he's never had the opportunity. Or he must be gay. Like that's what it was. And it was like, so a lot of people were sliding into my DMs that were asking me really weird questions. And I was like, I actually grew up being very, like I wasn't going to date in high school because I knew I wasn't going to like marry the person. I was very intentional. And I grew up also believing in courtship. So like there was also that. So whenever I was in college, I was known as Mr. Courtship because I was going to court someone rather than date him. And then I lost that really quick. Just like I just wasn't. I started getting really tired of that reputation. So, but anyway, America's Got Talent just it was a whirlwind of an experience, but I did love it, and it was fun. But if you look it up, like you'll see what I'm talking about.
What'd you place?
Well, I guess like top 36 or whatever, something like that. I got to the quarterfinals, so
nice.
However many people, but I sucked. I was terrible. I was so bad.
Did you sing Christian songs?
I did for the second round, but it was like a hidden. It was kind of one of those Gable Bryson thing, where it was a hidden kind of meaning. But I did sing an original. But the first round, I sang "Hello" by Lionel Richie, like "Hello, is it me you're looking for?" Know that one?
Yeah.
And then the third round, I sang an original, but it was a love song. And then they made me say my crush's name on stage. Yeah, they did.
Did she watch it?
Yes. No, she wasn't watching it, but her friends were. And then they texted her because I said her name, and then I had to apologize to her, which is kind of weird.
Why?
But because I guess she's a very private person.
Did people find her?
I don't know.
If people found her and were like harassing her, that I would understand an apology. But if no one found her,
I didn't say her last name, but maybe just because people like they can see who I follow, maybe they were. I followed a couple. It's okay. She already knows at this point. We're already good. We're good. She's married and has kids. We're good. We're literally chill. That was like, don't clip that. Yeah. That would actually be
so
really
funny.
good. Use that as a clip. But and you can find it online. It's on there. They're like, say her name. The whole audience was chanting like, say her name. And then
that's
I was
crazy.
Yeah, I said it. Yeah, I did. I caved. So I caved to peer pressure, or at least at the time I used to cave to peer pressure a lot. So yeah, what a shame. How was your America's Got Talent experience? Please tell me. I would love to know. Yeah, but that's mine. Unless you have any more questions about the America's Got Talent thing, I love talking about it. I think a lot of people would think I get tired of it, but it's pretty fun. So.
What's one thing that surprised you about the process?
Ooh, I don't know if everything was surprising because I grew up, I know I grew up in Nashville, but to me, Nashville was a small town.
It was.
Yeah, and for a while, it wasn't this popular touristy destination. Because you grew up here, right?
Yeah.
So you
know. It's only been the last 5 years.
Yeah, whenever we grew up, there's this place called Cool Springs. When I was born, it was farmland. There was nothing there.
Spring Hill, cows. Where we are right now, cows.
Cows. So the idea of Nashville being this big thing, it just wasn't. So whenever I went to LA, I'd never been to LA before. And and this was my first time flying by myself. So everything felt new to me. I was just shocked, even getting a hotel. This was my first time checking into a hotel by myself. And I know I was 20, but I just had never done stuff like that,
Yeah.
I just lived a very simple life.
Right.
So I had some familiarity with cameras, I guess, but not the scale of cameras. And just I think what was more surprising to me was actually functioning in a secular environment. Because I'd grown up in the Christian bubble my entire life. Every single one of my friends was claimed to be a Christian. My parents' friends were Christians. We always were in church. Anything we went to was Christian related. My dad was in Christian music. So it was all Christian.
Yeah.
So now I'm in this place that my parents have prepped me. They are going to come so hard for you. You're going to be persecuted so dang hard for your faith. So I had this persecution complex where I'm I'm going to come into this thing and they're going to try to rip me away from what I love. And the enemy is so much more clever than that. Because that's the thing. Most people you meet in the world are so chill. It's they're hey, you believe what you want to believe and I'm going to believe what I want to believe. So it wasn't this thing how dare you believe the things that you do, or that's crazy. It's they're a lot of them were oh yeah, I grew up in church.
Right.
So I was kind of surprised, and the world actually became much more friendly to me. And to me, actually, the danger in becoming friends with the world is just this overall tolerance of everything.
Yeah.
Where you're just oh, you believe that? Yeah, it's fine. You do what you want. But there should be this sense of urgency as Christians to be this is what I've had to wrestle with because I am such a people pleaser and I want just to get along with everyone. So it's you're not supposed to try to dog on anyone for what they believe in, but there should be an intentionality of wanting to talk about your faith and try to understand where people are are in their walk. Because if we truly believe that people who are not going to be saved have an eternal or at least there's something that happens after death,
right?
It's I don't want to just miss this opportunity to at least not bring up what the Lord's doing in my life and the joy that I experience. to someone who doesn't like believe the things that I do, and or at least as far as they're not a Christian. And so I just remember being in the, going to America's Got Talent. Like I think I thought it was going to be this, fire and brimstone. Like I'm about to face the biggest challenge of my life, and it just wasn't. It wasn't that. Like it just it was much more chill. But again, I think later on, like I've just learned that's what the world is now, especially in America.
Yeah.
It's just this overall like kind of chillness. And then you're going to find people that hate Christian values. But even if you go on TikTok, most people are like, just let them believe whatever they want to believe. Like everyone's pretty chill, I think, for the most part. They only just get upset if they feel like their personal rights are being infringed upon.
Right.
Which then that gets into different, obviously different topics. But that was probably the most surprising thing was finding people that grew up in the church but weren't Christians anymore, and then feeling like I was kind of stupid for like, I don't know, it was weird. It was just a weird experience. I don't know how to explain it all, but it was strange. So that, I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah.
But do you feel like that was similar? Because you grew up in a Christian bubble, right? But you did seem to go through like 13 to 17, like kind of not doing that. But probably like in your head, do you still feel like you were like, I'm doing the wrong thing?
Yeah.
Like you knew, like my sister did the same thing at some point. Like she wanted to be rebellious, not because she thought she was like finding this alternate life of where this was actually what she needed to do.
Right.
She always knew she was doing the wrong thing, but she was okay with doing it because she wanted to do it.
That's exactly how it was.
Yeah. So like, do you feel like there was some point where like, did you start becoming friends with people who were not Christians or something, and you were just wanting to live like they were? Or like what was...
Not even that. Like it wasn't even that I wanted to, like I never did drugs. Like I never did anything like quote unquote bad. It was really just like the small things.
How much better your testimony would have been if you did drugs. You know what I'm saying?
I know.
You should have hit it at least
I really
once.
should have gone off the deep end a little bit farther.
A little bit more. And then,
full cannonball. No, like I didn't even do anything bad. It was all like mentally. Like I just didn't want to answer to anyone. I also think that's like an oldest sibling thing.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want to answer to my parents. I didn't want to answer to a higher being. Like I just didn't want to make an account for why I did anything that I did.
Yeah.
I just kind of wanted to live and be left alone.
How many siblings do you have?
3.
Okay. Oh, so you're from a family of 4.
Yeah.
So you're the oldest. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. And did your younger siblings notice all of this?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just wasn't really home. We were also all homeschooled, and my dad worked from home. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. So I was also like a little tired of everyone.
Sure. Yeah.
Because I shared a room with my sister growing up till I was 13, and then we moved to Brentwood and had a bigger house, and I had my own space, but it was still all the time. And my siblings had a lot of like learning disabilities at home. So like it was a very tense environment during school hours. So I just didn't want to be around the stress.
Sure.
So I would just not be there a lot of the time. But one thing that I'm thankful for, because my dad's, he's first generation US because his parents were from Sicily.
Oh.
So like a lot of their family values he instilled in us. And one of the things was like, you are home for dinner at 6:00 every night. Until I was working in a salon when I was 17, I could only miss one dinner a week.
You had a job in high school?
I babysat.
Oh, okay.
Not really. I babysat Brentwood kids.
Okay.
So I made a lot of money for not a lot of work.
But
how many comments do you think you're going to get after this? I'll be your wife.
I don't really get that much. I don't
Ever?
think. I don't know. Like, I don't think, because people have asked me, like, oh, do a lot of people...
Like, do you get a lot of DMs?
I think after America's Got Talent, I got a couple. Like, I got a good amount of just... little, but they were like cutesy. I don't feel like they were any of them were that serious. Or like, I'll be your girlfriend, like I'll be your first kiss. Like it's like some of that I was like, oh, they're just being, again, this goes back to why I believe like women are just not evil or whatever. It's like I thought all of them were just joking with me and messing with me.
Yeah.
I get like a message here and there that's very serious. It's like, I am this age, I believe these things, and I really feel like we would hit it off, and I would love the chance to meet you. I feel like, again, the energy I've always given off is more approachable. So it's not like I'm Justin Bieber, where it's like someone just throwing out a shot. Like, and like it could be the most bold shot.
Yeah.
Like for me, I feel like maybe girls feel like they might actually have a shot just because like I'm just really nice to everyone. And so they're like, oh, well, I can't just be weird. Like I've got to be kind of normal and realize that this is weird. So a lot of them would be like, I know this is so weird for me to reach out and do this. So I don't know. Like I've never felt like I am an object of pursuing or pursuit.
Do you
or
answer
whatever.
those?
I see them once in a while. I just don't really check my DMs anymore. That's probably part of it too. Like I never check my DMs, so I couldn't tell you how many people are sliding in. But I don't even have I still like I have confidence socially, but when it comes to the girl thing, I still have no confidence. So like I don't think I have any riz or any pull. Like I don't think I can pull that hard. But some of my friends tell me different. They're like, dude, like you can. But then they'll give me stupid reasons. Like, you got a blue check, you can pull. I'm like, that shouldn't be a good reason to pull. It's like
you can pay for that now.
Yeah, I know. You can pay for a blue check. So it's like, I don't think just because I have a following, that means I have the ability to pull. I've gotten ghosted so many times by a girl that I've been interested in that I think I just got to the point where like, God, you're going to figure it out. Like, I'm just going to pursue someone that I'm interested in at some point. And if you say no, it's like, it's all good. I'm just waiting for the right one. So yeah, it happens. So I'm 26 and I'm not married. I'm 26 and I'm not married. It's unreal. I can't believe that. What am I doing? How old are you?
22.
You're 22 and you're married.
Yeah.
Look at you. How old are you?
I'm 21.
21. You're good. Yeah. But I don't want to say that because people still tell me that. I think it's the dumbest thing ever. I'm like, I'm 26. All right. My dad got married when he was 24 and I thought he was ancient. I was like, oh, you got married when you were 24? Like, that's crazy, Dad. What took you so long? And then my sister got married at 26. I'm like, wow, like she really was like out of date. Like, that's crazy. And I'm about to be the oldest O'Brien. Like, once I hit 27, I'm officially the oldest,
What if you're meant to live a life of Paul?
Oh, please, no, not celibacy. Please. please. like I don't think I can. I don't think I could bear it.
That's gonna be my favorite clip I post.
Yeah, please.
By its own thing.
Please. I will settle so hard before I live a life of celibacy. I will find someone. I will go through my DMs and I will find her. I'm like, are you still single? Because I'll do it. Let's get married. I'm beyond saving. So yeah, no, but I'm not there yet. Once I hit 30 though, who knows what's gonna happen. I'm scared for 30-year-old Joseph. I am scared for 30-year-old Joseph. Anyway, what was the question? I don't even know where we were.
We can switch it up.
Yeah, we can switch it up. I feel like I gotta ask you questions. Like,
okay.
Like I'm trying to think here.
Sure.
So, like, obviously, where did you go to college? Did you go to college somewhere?
No, I just did hair school. I went to TCAT in Nashville.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, where, like, I know you've started this podcast. So, what is your dream 10 years from now? Like, is this podcast obviously just starting because you wanted to have a creative outlet, talk about what the Lord's doing in your life? But is there something you feel like it could evolve into? Dare I say evolve as a Christian? I know. Cancel me. You shouldn't cancel me.
Naturally select into.
Yeah, naturally select into. Is there something you feel like this could, like, again, like, it could be as big as, like, I would love this to turn into a conference. The Freedom Conference. And, I'm heading up the conference and I have different guest speakers or like, what, do you have any dreams? Do you have any, have you ever had a dream where you just, what are your dreams, Isabella? Tell me what your dreams are.
So I've actually been thinking about this recently because I was talking to my dad and when I first started this, I like refused to think about it growing because I was so scared of like it being about me. I just didn't want my pride to get in the way because that's like, my first thing that I will do as a human being is make it about me. Like that's my sin defect.
Yeah. Tendency.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's just what I do. And I just was so careful to not do that. And then I was talking with Brandon, who I had on here, and he's popular on YouTube. And he was like, yeah, but what if God asked you because you're good at making things grow? And like he made you like specifically for that. And I was like, oh yeah, that's true. And then I was praying recently and I was like, God, what should I pray about specifically for this podcast? And God was like, why don't you ever pray that it grows? Like if the whole point is to impact people, why aren't you praying that it impacts people?
Yeah.
And I just felt like it was wrong to ask God for the numbers to grow. But if that's the whole point, why can't I? Mm-hmm. So I've been a lot more okay with the idea of growth recently. Yeah. But I was talking with my dad and I was like, there's not, to my knowledge at least, there's not a large Christian podcast that exclusively interviews other Christians. Like there's Jordan Peterson, who I think is a Christian. He won't say specifically like where his beliefs are, but he believes in God.
Yeah.
And then he interviews large scopes of people.
Yeah.
And then there's people like George Janko, who's like a newer believer, and he talks about God a lot, but then he interviews like all sorts of people.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of big Christian influencers and on podcasts, but they do kind of stuff usually just by themselves or like with their like friends every now and then. But there's no one interviewing Christians with influence. And I would love to do that. Like I would love to get to the point where it's big enough to where I can live wherever I want. Like I don't have to be in Nashville, because I don't think I'll be in Nashville in 10 years. That's the dream.
Where do you want to go?
I don't know.
Oh my word.
My parents moved to Florida, so probably Florida.
Oh, your parents live in Florida now?
Yeah.
No joke.
They're in Sarasota.
What are they doing? Why do they do that?
Because the allergies here are so bad that my dad couldn't do it anymore. Like him and
really?
my siblings had like basically flu-like symptoms year round.
Oh, wow.
And that's starting to happen to me, which is why I'm like, I don't know if I want to be here in 10 years. Yeah. So for health reasons.
Is that because you're lactose intolerant?
I actually can tolerate lactose. It's everything else I can't.
Gluten?
The air.
Oh, the air. Okay. The air.
Gluten's a no-go though.
Wow. Oh, wow. I guess that's a good reason to move, I guess.
And like in 10 years, I'd like to have a kid and I'd want to live near my parents because my in-laws are here. So it's kind of here or Florida.
Yeah.
And I love here is the thing. Like I love Franklin and I love Nashville. But unless God heals me.
Yeah.
Please.
Well, how can you socially function without Christian? You know what I'm saying?
He's coming with me. Are you kidding?
What do you mean? You could be a Florida guy.
We're finding him a Florida baddie.
Yeah. You're good looking. You already look tan. Is that just natural skin tone that you have right there?
Yeah, isn't he the worst?
I tan really easy.
Oh, that's so annoying.
My dad tans from his computer screen because he's outside and he's always tan.
He's Italian too.
I get mad.
Oh, Italian as well.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
I get mad sweaty though, so I don't know if I could make it in Florida, you know?
So does my dad. He just glistens all the time.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good thing though. That means you're always shiny is probably a very in thing.
There's a huge...
Pores are open.
Pores are open. There's a huge New York, New Jersey presence in Florida because all the old Italians retire there.
Of course. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they're bringing their liberal values down to Florida. My best friend talked about that the other day because we're not political at all, but he was like, dude, I've been on a political kick recently. He's like, I'm mad political right now. And I was like, that's weird. But he just is so funny. But anyway, we can get away from that though.
When did you get signed to a label?
I got signed in 2021 officially, but I started talking with Goatee July 2020.
So most people have no idea how that works.
Yes.
How does that work?
So this is the idea, labels are always consistently searching for talent. By their position is called an A&R, which means artist and repertoire. And you'll find a lot of A&Rs like scouring the internet. So like Instagram or TikTok, or they might be going to songwriting rounds in Nashville. They're always scouting talent because they're looking for the next big thing. You know, it's kind of like America's Got Talent. It's like a mini America's Got Talent. It's like, we want to sign you to this thing so that we can put you out so a lot of people can see and then see how it goes. So I had talked with, after America's Got Talent, funnily enough, I got to talk to a lot of different labels. Not even, I was never approached by a label. That was always my goal. America's Got Talent actually was not the goal. The goal was so I could get signed.
Okay.
So I wanted to get signed so bad. Because when I was 18, I didn't even think about going to college. I was like, I'm just going to try to get signed, but I couldn't. So I was like, well, I'll go to college, whatever. And then, I never got approached by a label, so my dad kind of functioned as my manager, and he just started giving me meetings, and all of them were saying the same thing. We're like, we think you've got some talent, but we just don't, like, we need you to grow, and we need you to, like, figure out, like, what you want to write and all these different things. And it's just, like, we sense there's talent. We sense there's talent. So I think I got close to signing with a particular place, but then they just bailed last second, and there was actually a label that came back. My dad sent them some music, and the label A&R literally said to my dad, he's like, I don't see anything in this kid. He's like, I don't see it. I don't get it, you know? And that'll come back later, which is so funny. So I get, eventually I go back to college just to finish out my degree. And I had put out 2 songs by then, and they had done like pretty well on Spotify
Mm-hmm.
at least for an indie artist, they were doing well. And one guy that mixed one of my songs was like, hey man, I want to send some of your stuff over to Toby Mac here at Goatee Records. I was like, yeah, you go for it. But at that point I was so done. I was like, no label's going to sign me. I got to figure this out on my own. And I kind of had decided, I was like, Lord, if a door's gonna open. It's not gonna be me trying to pry it open. It's just you're gonna like make the way, there. And so that's literally what happened. Is Goatee reached out to me, and they listened to my stuff. And I had one conversation with, her name was Jess at the time. She became my A&R, and she said, "Hey, I'd love to have a conversation with Toby, if that's okay with you. Like you and me and Toby Zoom." And I was like, "Is there a Toby that I should be informed of? Like a different Toby? Are we like talking about the same Toby here?" Because like I was a big Toby Mac fan growing up, so I was like freaking out on the in the inside. She's like, "No, Toby Mac." And I was like, "Okay, cool. Yeah, I totally be down for that. What time do you want to do it? Like I'm open all week." And so we had a conversation, and then Toby, literally at the end of the conversation, he said, "Joseph, the people I call, I want to sign. Like if I'm calling you, it means I want to sign you. So with that information, take it what you will." And I said, "Yo, let me pray about it." And then I hopped off, prayed about it for like 2 seconds. I'm like, "Yeah, I think I want to do it." And so I got back to them really quick. I said I would love to. And then I got management, all these different things. And so yeah, it was literally just a God thing. He opened the door, and then I walked through it. And but Jess actually left. So Jess was like the person who was kind of in charge of me as an artist. And now I'm with someone different. But yeah, I've been with them for about 3 years. Or more than 3 years now, like 3 years in a month. So it's pretty wild.
Wow.
But that's it. Yeah, I don't know if that answers the question again, but that's what labels do. They're always looking for talent, and they're making a monetary investment, trying to see if they can make money off of you. Obviously, you would like the business is like there's ministry. Obviously, like I'm very ministry focused, but they're also a business at the same time.
Yeah.
But out of all labels, Goatee's the most friendly to like, even if they put a lot of money in you, and you don't return on investment, or is that what it is? ROI?
Yeah.
They still love, they love their artists so well. So, but I think we'd be kidding ourselves to like, they want to like make
they're a business.
They're a business. So I don't think I've made the money yet, but we're working on it. We're working on it. So we'll see.
What's the point of being signed?
I think
what do they do for you?
A label, this is probably funny that I'm having this conversation because I'm actually like, although I'm signed, I struggle with labels. I think labels are really interesting because most of what I do is like I'm self-sufficient. Like I do most things by myself, like my social media, most of the shows that I get booked, like their primary goal, especially in Christian music, is radio. Like radio is where they offer you, they're like, we can get you on radio. And
do you want that?
No, I don't. Not anymore. So that's where things got complicated for about a year because we went to radio. I failed so dramatically hard at radio. It was like a joke. I think I got added to like 2 stations out of like over 300, in the country. And I got a little burnt out by just chasing the radio thing. And so I almost I left, I had a conversation with Toby. I was like, I'm leaving the label. And we had to have, that's a good clip moment. Like, I'm leaving the label. I'm leaving Christian music. And that was a really difficult conversation that, we had to talk one-on-one, and he talked me off the ledge, but I had to have a good, I had to reshift or reframe my perspective on being a signed artist. And, but yeah, that's really what labels are made for, is especially in Christian music, is radio. They can get you on radio, and where radio is, there's a lot of money apparently. So
why'd you stay on?
I stayed on because Toby said, I can coach you in 3 different ways. He's like, I can coach you as a label head, I can coach you as a fellow artist, and I can coach you as a dad. He's like, I'm going to give you all 3. Okay, cool. Whatever you say, Toby. And he told me as a label head, he's like, we can let you go and it'd be fine. He's like, there will be no bitterness. He's like, there'd be no bitterness at all, and we love what you're doing, and we'll still support you, and just know there'd be no bad blood. So he's like, if you want to leave, you can leave.
Yeah.
And then as a fellow artist, he's like, I understand your struggle, because if sometimes you feel like you've signed into something that you didn't fully realize what it was going to look like in a couple years. He's like, I understand that struggle. So on that front, I also understand why you want to leave. He's like, now as as a dad who's got kids, I'm going to challenge you. And I was like, oh, okay. What is the challenge? And he just said, I think there's beauty in honoring your word. And he's like, I think that there's something to be said. He's like, I signed a deal. And he's like, I didn't even sign it. I had signed a really good deal with Goatee, or just very standard deal. And he said, I signed a deal that all of my lawyers told me I could get out of when DC Talk started blowing up. Like they were saying, it's so easy. We could get you out of this deal. We can get you something better. And he said that he was like, no, I'm just going to honor. He's like, I'm going to stick with this deal because I told them I was going to be with them for this amount of time and this amount of records. And I just want to do the right thing. And, he says like, I just think that there's something wonderful whenever you honor the commitment and see it through to the very end. And he's like, again, I'm not trying to pull the holy card on you. He's just like, I would challenge you to think that way. And my dad was the same way. My dad told me the same thing. And so I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to bite my ego right now because I was so angry. I was like, you guys don't like, and I had to wrestle with the pride thing because I was like, why didn't I work on radio? Like, why didn't you guys like work for me like you should have? Like you did everything wrong. I feel like I'm being mistreated at this label. And some of the concerns were valid. We had to talk through. It was just miscommunications of like my personality, and I'm a very like I try to please people in authority. I'm also rambling so much right now. I gotta land the plane. But he challenged me to look at it from a different perspective, and I was like, all right, you know what? I feel like this is a healthy way of going about it, rather than just being like, oh man, like you guys don't think I'm the bee's knees. I'm just gonna leave. Peace out. I'm gonna do my own thing. Like I was like, you know what? Like I think there's actually something really cool about me trying to fight through this, and that I'm going to work hard and I'm going to get this, deal accomplished. And then whenever it's accomplished, I'll reevaluate whether I want to stay with them or not. But at least at that point, there's more official closure rather than just me burning bridges. I don't like burning bridges. I'm not a big burning bridges guy. I wouldn't have burned a bridge, but like in my head, I would have. Yeah. Just a bit. Anyway, that's why I didn't leave. So Papa Daddy Toby talked me off the ledge. Papa Daddy Zaddy Toby or whatever. Maybe we should cut that. But yeah, he did. So anyway. Yeah.
Well, that kind of bleeds into what I was going to ask next.
Okay.
How has it been struggling with being a Christian artist and wanting all of the glory to go to God, but then also being a person of influence and that feeding your ego and pride? Mm-hmm. Tell me about that.
You tell me about that. I don't know. No, I think we were all trying to figure that out because we are all, from what I've heard, we're all sinful creatures and the heart is deceitful above all things. I think I think we all wrestle with pride, especially creatives or people who, want to build a podcast. And I was going to encourage you because it's like, I think you were totally right earlier when you said, like, it's not wrong to pray for growth. Yeah. I think it's more about if the growth, what do you do when the growth doesn't happen or if it doesn't happen, It's like, is God not good? It's like God, we know God is sovereign and in control and he's good. And so I think that the way I always try to fight or to go against pride is just realizing that in an instant, like Job, I could lose it all. Yeah. But I would still have purpose and I'd still have meaning in my life. I could find it elsewhere, like, which is the bare minimum as a Christian, and which is why I love that I get to do Christian music, because the bare minimum, I might say, is that I'm supposed to go and make much of Jesus and not of myself. And so that, I think that's actually something that takes the weight off of you as a creative, is knowing that I'm not in this for myself. And I think anytime you feel tempted to be in it for yourself, you just have to counsel yourself or just re-inform yourself about what you're doing in the first place. And I think it'd be much harder if I was in pop music, because if I was in pop music, it's like, okay, so I got, the Lord over here, but then I got this over here. But what I do, it's all encompassing. So it's like Christian music should feed into my relationship with the Lord. My relationship with the Lord should feed into my Christian music, It's all like encompassing. So I love it. And I think some other people who do pop music, I'm sure they figure out that a little bit better. But I think you just have to remember your purpose, which, I was educated again in Presbyterian church. So like the Westminster Catechism, the number one question was, what's the chief end of man? And do you know what the chief end of man is? The chief end of man is to glorify God and enjoy him forever. Do you know, heard that before? Yeah. It's kind of like a cop out, like a little bit, like,
Is that from Ecclesiastes, or is that just
I don't know if they formed it. I'm sure it's biblically based, at least a little bit.
That's the whole thing with Ecclesiastes, right? They're like, like everything's meaningless, and then at the end, it's
right.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I just think, glorify God and enjoy him forever. There's the glorify God, which is the vertical, and then the enjoy is the, like, enjoy the gifts that he's also given, and like enjoy who he's created you to be. There's like that horizontal level too. So I just gotta remind myself of my purpose every day. And but yeah, and that comes in moments where you're tempted. I just feel like, again, I if anything, I struggle with like which is still pride in a different way. Like, and I'm not saying anything revolutionary right now, but I tend to devalue myself.
Yeah.
And be like, God, why didn't you make me like this other person?
Yeah.
And like, why am I made this way? Because I think I suck a lot of the times, And it's like, I have to remember that God's given me a gift that I need to walk in and walk in confidence in. Because whenever you devalue yourself, you're still being prideful because you're putting yourself as the center of attention, which is so weird.
Totally.
Because I think our culture loves to glorify people who are like humble, but sometimes even falsely humble.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't, like, I've had to work on that just as much as like thinking too much of myself. So it's wild though. Like, humility is so wild because it creeps up on you, or pride creeps up on you in different ways. So do you wrestle with pride, Isabella?
Yeah, I was
What's
thinking,
your favorite sin to commit?
murder.
Murder. Yeah.
Well, real quick, there's a John Bellion lyric that I love, and it says, fake humble is a corny way to be arrogant.
Ooh,
and that was always one of my favorite lyrics when I heard
that's
it.
a bar.
Well, he's also just great.
Yeah, I love John. 1, 2, 3, 4. La, 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 la. It's a good one. Yeah. But what about you? Do you have any speakers or listeners, or not listeners, speakers or conference, like just any like women that you really look up to?
Jackie Hill Perry, 1000%.
Jackie Hill Perry's freaking locked in. Love her.
doing her study on Jude right now with my mentor. And it's so good.
Isn't Jude one chapter?
Yeah.
Wow. My mom, whenever we were growing up, she showed us some of her, like, I think podcast clips or some of her speaking, and I just always appreciated, again, how grounded I feel like she is as a person.
And their marriage stuff is really good.
Yeah. I would consider myself in not a waiting season, but like a pursuing anyone I can season. How do you, as a content creator, when it comes to girls who are really struggling with like being single and wanting to be a wife, but maybe some of them want to have a job, but also want to be a stay-at-home mom. Like, how do you like counsel them? Because like a lot of them, I've met so many girls, this is tough. It's like they want to be married and they're like 19 or 18 or 19, and that's just their goal. They're just like, I want to be married and I want to be a stay-at-home mom, and they have a hard time figuring out what to do until that happens. Yeah. So like, how do you, as someone who is married, but like, how would you counsel someone like that? Because I would love to hear.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things.
Okay.
The point of being a child of God isn't to get married. It's to fully delight in God and serve him, right? So that should be your goal always. Yeah. And Paul says that it's better and more effective for the kingdom of God to stay single. But if you do get married, it's a good thing and you can bring children into the world. Yeah. So it's not a bad thing. And if you have a desire for that, I think that that's still good and godly, but that shouldn't be your focus. Okay. Because if you're living your life in search for a spouse, you're going to idolize them, which is the easiest thing to fall into in marriage, is idolizing your spouse before God. So if your sole focus is, God, I want to fully delight in you, like I want to feel fully satisfied by you and you alone, what do you want me to be doing right now? And that should really be the only thing that you're focused on. And then if you do have a desire for children or to be a spouse, a husband or a wife, like asking God to prepare you for that. Because the best prep you can do is just, how do I be more like Jesus? It's not studying Proverbs 31 every single day and ignoring the rest of the Bible. Like Proverbs 31 is good, but there's a whole Bible.
Proverbs 31 every day.
Like, there's just so many more things to focus on. And it's just too easy when your whole goal is to be married to let that be your whole goal. Yeah. And then forget everything else. Because God doesn't let you have dud seasons. Like, he's using it for a purpose. Yeah. So what does he want you to be doing right now? Yeah. Like, what does he want you to be focusing on instead of thinking about how much you want a wife? Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
The head's deep. That goes dummy hard. Yeah, because even it's funny, like I've been able to even recognize that as like a good gift from God is the ability to like raise kids or be married and like to want to raise your kids in a godly household. But you can even idolize, like any gift from God, you can idolize all of it.
1000%.
So it's like, if you're like, oh, like I take such pride in my family that like, it's like that becomes the central focus. Everything revolves around just your family rather than cultivating obviously a relationship with the Lord. And because, you know, again, it just God, like he's got a plan through everything, but also like sometimes things don't work out. So like what if one of your kids ends up not being a believer? It's like, then if that was your identity, it's like, oh, what did I do?
What if you
wrong?
can't have kids?
Yeah. Or what if you can't
What if
have
your
kids?
wife miscarries?
Yeah. It's like, there's so many, like, especially
Yeah.
now, like I think I hear way more about miscarriages nowadays, but also people not having kids. There's someone very close to me that I don't know if they're able to have kids with their spouse. And it's like,
that's
that
real.
never entered into my head. It's like, that's a possibility. Because some people just,
They can't.
you can't, but then there's other people that they're popping them out left and right and they didn't expect to. They were like, well, we didn't want kids. And then they have like 7 and they're like, yeah, they just keep coming out, you know? Like it just happens.
Don't
like,
know
you
where they're coming from.
Yeah, it's like, exactly. So it's funny how some of the people that like are like just built on like, you know, yeah, how do you have that conversation? It's like, if you can't have kids, it's like you can talk about adoption, but like obviously that's going to just, you know, if that's your identity, that's going to wreck you. It's going to wreck you, you know?
Back to what we were talking about earlier.
Yes.
Many are the plans in a man's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails.
Plans, yes.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you can plan it all, but
You can plan it all.
yeah.
And anything can be an idol. I have this client. He's one of my favorite people in the world. And he's super like hippie. He sleeps in a hammock.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, cool.
He's awesome.
Is that
And-
a granola thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's
Yeah.
in his 40s. He's unmarried. And he like really believes that that's like how God wants to use him. Like he's really, really
Okay.
big on serving community and
Wow.
like being able to do whatever, whenever, meeting people at 2 a.m. if they need help. Like he's a man for the people, right?
Yeah.
And he's also like really into farming and granola-y stuff. But he was telling me one time that he was homeless on purpose for 3 years in his 20s or 30s because he was idolizing his home. And he said that being homeless for 3 years was the closest he ever felt to God and the most he could serve his community.
Wow, I don't know how I feel about that, but that's cool. At the
Isn't
same
that
time.
wild?
That's pretty interesting.
Because he was idolizing his home and not using it in a way that glorified God or not using it to serve people and like not managing money well. So he was like, guess I just won't have one till I can get it together. Isn't that crazy?
That is pretty crazy.
But like truly surrendering everything. Like the whole like if your eye is
That's
causing you to
definitely
sin, pluck
surrendering.
it out. If it's an
Yeah.
idol, get rid of it. And he did it.
Dang. I can't.
Isn't that wild?
I can't nab on that, or I can't. You know, I was like, wow, that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Well done.
Right?
Well done, good and faithful servant. I was like, I don't know if I could ever do
No.
that.
So what are you doing right now? What's in the works?
What's in the works? I think same old, same old. I'm just writing a good amount and producing a little bit. I'm trying to produce for other artists
Cool.
more because I do like traveling, but my dad traveled a lot when I was a kid, especially when he was a new song. He was gone like 250 days out of the year.
Yeah.
So at some point, I think I was like, I don't want that life for my kids if I have them. You know, but like if for whatever family I have one day, it's like but even just personally, like I'm just not like I do love to travel, but it's more of like I want to go travel and see like
for fun.
yeah, travel for fun, but like I want to hike.
Yeah.
I don't want to go out in the middle of nowhere and be stuck in a green room and
Right.
like play on a stage confined. Like if I'm
Yeah.
gonna travel, like let me go like do stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So the travel that I do is not my favorite version of traveling, but it is cool. Like I get to see some cool little spots and places I know I would never go to, like Casper, Wyoming. You know, it's like, well, I don't know why I'd ever go there, but I had a gig there. So like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, right now I'm working on trying to build a foundation for producing for other people that way in 10 to 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like John Bellion's actually my biggest inspo for how to live life.
Totally.
Which is be an artist, but also help other people become the artist that they've always wanted to be.
Would you want to do a label kind of like how you did Glory Sound Prep?
Yes. Yeah, I would. I would love to start a label one day. Like
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I think is that what his label's called? Glory Sound Prep?
No, Beautiful Mind.
Oh, Beautiful Mind. Okay. So yeah, I like Toby. Like it's my goal to start a label one day. But you gotta be successful before
Yeah.
you do that. You can't. It's pretty hard to start a label. So. So yeah, my goal is to become a producer for other people and be a little bit more low key with my artistry, like release stuff. But like when I go on tour, it's like a 1 month run and it happens like, you know, once a year or something like that. And it's like,
Yeah.
hopefully, you know, the dream would be like, I could just sell it out, you know,
Yeah.
and then do it. And then I'm done with it. It's like, oh wow, you got to get your Joseph O'Brien tickets. Kind of like, I don't know, Forrest Frank, like the idea of like, whenever he goes on tour, it's like, oh my gosh, like this doesn't happen hopefully
Right.
a lot.
Are you
So-
touring soon?
Yeah, I'm going on tour with Jeremy Camp in the fall, so that'll be fun. So
Are you playing here?
No, we're going out west. So yeah, that's all I'm doing is I'm just same old, just writing and then producing and then trying to travel so I can pay rent.
Are you playing any Nashville shows soon?
No, I don't think so. I'm going on tour with Sanctus Real in October, and I don't know where we're playing though, but I know I'm going with them wherever that is. So I don't think I have anything in Nashville. I tend to avoid Nashville like the plague.
Why?
People here are so judgy.
Yeah.
You know, this because we know good music here. Like a lot of people like live here. Even the best artists in the world, like I'll go to a Nashville concert and I'm like, no one's into this.
Yeah.
It feels like everyone's just like really snooty. Because I think everyone in the audience is like, I should be up there. You know, they're like, I would do a better job with this. You know, like I feel like that seems to be the culture of Nashville sometimes. So I love going to other places because you go to Hodunk, Oklahoma, they're like, we don't get no good music out here, you know, like, so I could sing like sort of on pitch and they're like, man, like this kid's got it, you know? So yeah, there's less expectation, but Nashville is the much more expectations on you. So
That makes sense.
I don't know when I'll do it.
Anything else cooking?
I've got a song coming out in a couple weeks.
Okay.
So July 26th.
What's it called?
Called I Feel Home.
What's it about? Feeling home?
Feeling home with Jesus. Yeah. I actually did like a social media clip of it last year and it like did well, but I was just in a bad headspace at the time. So it never got out. But it's just, just a song about, you know, I think a lot of people are searching, especially people our age, like identity and social media, trying to find your worth in that. And it's like, you're never losing sight of the fact that like you'll feel most at home when you're with Jesus and just like spending time with him and finding your purpose and identity in him. And that's where you're going to find the most peace and you can breathe. Cause that's what home is, right? It's a place where you feel like you can actually like exhale and like just
safe.
Like I'm here. Yeah. Safety. That's a great word. Yeah. Safe. I like that. So, that'll be coming out July 26th. And then after that, just got some little stuff here and there, like Dare You to Move by Switchfoot. I'm covering that with another band.
That's cool.
That was loud. And that'll be coming out in August. So yeah.
Well, thank you everyone for
Thank
watching.
you for joining the podcast. Hey, you know, gotta do the things. I hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the share button. This is all your job.
If I can't figure out how to actually screen record your America's Got Talent and put it in where we were talking about it, you'll know by now if I figured that out. If I didn't, the link will be in the description along with the rest of the stuff that you do. What do you do?
What?
Just Spotify, TikTok, Instagram.
Yeah, I do.
Is there anything else you want to plug? A potential maybe
my
podcast.
Twitch, you know, I'm trying to
Are
get
you
into
on
streaming.
Twitch?
I'm about to.
What games are you gonna play?
Fortnite. Go crazy.
I'm not tagging that.
Yeah, some Call of Duty maybe.
Minecraft only.
Yeah, I don't think I'm on the Minecraft thing yet. Maybe Pop Tropica if someone tells me.
I've never heard of that.
You what? Come on, Club Penguin.
Oh,
Remember Club Penguin? Or
I was
something?
a little too young.
Oh.
I was a Webkins kid.
Oh.
You're a little bit older than me.
Okay.
I played Club Penguin and I'm younger than you.
Yeah,
Really?
I was gonna say Club Penguin was I was probably 12
I feel like
or 13.
I missed
I
that.
thought Webkins was before Club Penguin.
Yeah, Webkins is
what?
ancient. Who did Webkins?
Why do you say it like that?
Huh?
Ancient.
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 Huh?
You like add letters.
Do I say ancient different than you do?
Yes, ancient.
You're saying ancient.
You're saying it like anxious.
Ancient. Yeah, I'm
You're
doing
adding
ancient.
an X.
Ancient.
Ancient.
What? No one says ancient.
How do you say it?
I don't
Ancient.
know because I say it the way you say it, ancient. But then I've been looking at the word and there's a C in there, so ancient kind of makes sense. But that's also
Ancient.
No, because anxious has that X,
Hold
and
up.
I feel like that's where it switches.
How do you pronounce ancient? Okay. I gotta see here. This is important. This is important.
Are you on YouTube?
Ancient.
Dang it! You're right. No, I've been saying ancient so wrong. Oh dang, that's crazy.
So yeah, I'll tag everything.
Yeah, tag everything and do say cold cuts are always the most fun.
They're
You
funniest.
just cut it hard.
Yeah.
So you need to say something like really
Outlandish.
weird, outlandish, like make like a really dumb claim or like you're about to make a really dumb claim.
I was gonna do
Matthew
that.
West's actual last name is Matthew.